It is the 9th of February 2025. A very warm welcome to the UBC Weekly News Roundup with me, Sharon Kyomugisha. In the course of the week, President Yoweri Museveni was set to visit the Kigezi sub-region. Kigezi sub-region next week as part of his presidential wealth creation tours. The Kigezi Presidential Zonal Skilling Hub in Kabale district is already excited about the visit and looking forward to hosting the president. The center's impact on the local community is evident in the stories of transformed lives.
We join together in order to reiterate our calls to the parties to this tragic conflict to immediately cease hostilities and take positive action to allow meaningful dialogue aimed at restoration of stability. Specifically, we stand together to call on all parties to actualize the ceasefire, and specifically on the M23 to hold further advancement and the armed forces of DRC to cease all retaliatory measures. An immediate ceasefire is the only way by which we can create necessary conditions for constructive dialogue and implementation of a comprehensive peace agreement. As members of the African Union and United Nations, we stand bound by fundamental principles of respect for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of nations.
Regional leaders, history will judge us harshly if we remain still and watch the situation worsen day by day. And in line with the principle of African solutions for Africa's problems, our countries have a collective responsibility to ensure we urgently address the existing security challenges that have heavily impacted the well-being of innocent civilians. This joint summit meeting presents an opportunity to recommit our collective efforts in addressing the conflicts and reaffirm our sustainable peace and stability in the entire EAC and SADC regions.
On behalf of SADC, the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, and indeed on my own behalf, to once again convey heartfelt condolences and deepest sympathies to the member states and families of the brave peacekeepers who lost their lives in the service of the people of DRC and indeed the cause of peace. We also recognize the loss of civilian lives and livelihoods that has resulted from the increased insecurity and insurgency in eastern DRC.
I need to clarify that now that was where the heads of states from the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community convened in Dar es Salaam on Saturday to address the escalating security crisis in the Eastern Congo, of course co-chaired by Kenyan President William Ruto and Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa. The summit brought together leaders from Tanzania, Rwanda, South Africa, Somalia, Uganda, Zambia and other nations to condemn violence, call for an immediate ceasefire and outline a coordinated strategy to restore stability in the troubled region. In more stories of the week, officials from Kenya's United Democratic Alliance Party have commended the counterparts in Uganda's national resistance movement for their strong ideological principles based on patriotism, Pan-Africanism, democracy and socio-economic transformation. The United Democratic Alliance officials led by the party's Secretary General Hassan Omar acknowledged that Kenya and Uganda are inseparable and should collaborate to ensure that prosperity of both neighboring countries continues to happen. The UDA officials have spent 1 week in Uganda as part of a benchmarking program.
Kenya's United Democratic Alliance Party officials have concluded their week-long visit to Uganda as part of a benchmarking program. During their stay, which included a meeting with President Museveni, the UDA officials expressed their admiration for the NRM's ideological principles of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, democracy, and socio-economic transformation.
That's why I said we are here. When we were younger, we believed that we needed to have an ideology, then we needed to have an organization, and then we needed to have leadership as the three necessary ingredients for political transformation. Yesterday, and within our interactions at Nali, and now today with the Secretary General, we are clearer how we want to move. We want to tool ourselves with ideological software.
The UD officials, led by Secretary General Hassan Umar Hassan, acknowledged the close ties between Kenya and Uganda, emphasizing that the two nations are not only united in business, but also through shared values of brotherhood.
It can just not be about material enterprise, about looking at Uganda just as a market and East Africa as a soko. We must look at ourselves as brothers who have a common destiny, that the suffering of Uganda is equal to the suffering of all Kenyans. And for that matter, all of East Africans. So,
both Secretary Generals, NRM's Richard Todong and that of UDA's Hassan Omar Hassan, agreed to collaborate not only in sharing political experiences but also in the socio-economic transformation of their people.
Our genotypes, we are similar to each other. So there is no reason for us to hate to the extent that you want to hate someone until he or she is out of the surface of the earth. And because of that, the conviction we have is that we are brothers and sisters in Africa. And that is why Uganda attracts so many refugees. Because whoever comes to Uganda, we treat him or her as a brother or a sister.
That African camaraderie. At these days, when I went to the East African Legislative Assembly, they were bragging that we have border crossings. I said, why do they even need to be there in the first place? But maybe because of our security for the time being. But as we build our economic prosperity, we move progressively towards the East African Federation, these borders must disappear. Common border crossings.
Secretary General Richard Todong of the NRM hosted UDA officials at the party's headquarters in Kampala. He emphasized the importance of peace and security within the East African community to foster development. Todong also advised the UDA officials to remain vigilant against foreign interests and other threats that could undermine the sovereignty of African nations.
The neoliberal forces are coming back. They are pulling Africans either left or right. They are dictating. I don't know whether you feel what we feel in Uganda. That Uganda is like a beautiful village girl that is being admired by every boy in the village. The Americans have come. The Russians are calling for conferences. The Indians are calling for this. The Chinese have come. Who else? The Arabs are coming in. Do you feel that? They are not coming because they love you. They are coming because they see something around you. So how should we as a revolutionary parties act and conceal our population from such damages that might be caused?
Philip Aguta for UBC News in Kampala.
Bodies of 18 soldiers from the Southern African Development Community Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been brought to Mulago mortuary for post-mortem ahead of their planned repatriation to their respective countries. The deceased include 14 South Africans, 2 Malawians and 2 Tanzanians.
It was a somber moment at Mulago National Referral Hospital as bodies of the Southern African Development Corporation soldiers killed during the fighting in Goma were brought in for post-mortem examinations. They were escorted into the country by the UPDF and transported to the hospital in Kampala. The bodies arrived at the Rubavu border yesterday at midday before being cleared for their onward journey into Uganda. Sources indicate that the post-mortem examinations on all the 18 bodies are expected to take several more days, potentially delaying the repatriation process. Officials from the respective countries were not available for a comment. In a related development, 71 military personnel were also repatriated and transported to the United Nations camp base in Entebbe. I'm coming. At a joint summit in Tanzania between the East African Community and the Southern African Development Corporation, leaders condemned the attacks on the regional peacekeepers.
Joint summit also expressed condolences for the loss of lives in the recent attacks and also wished a speedy recovery to the injured. The joint summit also expressed concern about the escalating crisis manifesting in attacks on diplomatic missions, embassies and staff based in Kinshasa, and urged the government of DRC to protect lives and property. The joint summit recollected that both the EAC and SADC summits had, upon deliberating on the security situation in eastern DRC, called for a cessation of hostilities and immediate ceasefire, B, restoration of essential utilities and supply lines for food and other essential commodities to ensure humanitarian support, and peaceful resolution of the conflict through the Luanda and Nairobi processes.
Outgoing Ambassador of South Sudan to Uganda, His Excellency Simon Juang Deng, has applauded Uganda for the support rendered to the South Sudanese community in Uganda. In his final message after bidding farewell to President Yoweri Museveni, Ambassador Deng thanked Uganda for the cordial and bilateral relation between the countries.
My small role during the struggle of the liberation of our country.
Ambassador Simon Juang Deng is not new to diplomatic service. Prior to his deployment to Uganda, he has served in the United Nations, Somalia, Iraq, and South Africa, among others. He has served as the head of mission to Uganda since October 2022, extending his representation to Rwanda and Burundi.
I was the country director of BRAC for South Sudan. Also seeing in northern Uganda there is War Child Canada. I was also the country director of War Child Canada, South Sudan, deputy country director of TIAFAN, country director of a medical organization called CCM.
It is a career that is started from scratch, having had his first service in the South Sudanese Army. He was recruited as a child soldier into the Transition Army during the era of John Garang Dimabio.
So I was a Kadogo of South Sudan. When I left the military service, I left at the rank of captain.
This was just before he later embarked on his education career.
That time, especially in 2005, once we achieved the peace agreement, I was given an opportunity a year later in 2006 to go and pursue my further education.
His 3 years in Uganda have not been wasted. He has advocated for removal of students' pass that required all South Sudanese students to pay $100 annually to study in Uganda. This is because there are over 10,000 South Sudanese studying in Uganda.
What was happening, all the South Sudanese studying in learning institutions in Uganda were charged as international students. Through engagement with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Interior, we were able to get that waiver.
Back in South Sudan, over 20,000 Ugandan traders are operating in Juba. This has been due to the close economic ties between the two countries. More is being done to ensure safety of traders regardless of the nationality.
South Sudan still doesn't have the manufacturing capacity now, so we're relying more on Uganda. and that's why we needed the road to be in good condition, infrastructure-wise, security-wise, so that the business is uninterrupted.
Ambassador Deng is optimistic that South Sudan will ensure safe and voluntarily return of its citizens to facilitate a fair, fast, democratic electoral process.
And we're actually looking forward to the election. It's going to be the first of its kind. The last election we had was in 2010, and we were part of Sudan. So we really want to have our first election, and maybe we'll use that as a baseline to keep refining it as the practice become normal.
The cooperation between Uganda and South Sudan did not just start yesterday, and it is not ending tomorrow. Sada Mubale, Susan Naonga, UBC News.
The new Somali ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Mohamed Kanyari Fadoso, has started, she actually has started to visit education institutions with the aim of strengthening ties in international collaboration, education and cultural exchange. The ambassador began her visit with the International University of East Africa, where she met the university vice chancellor, then after met the Somali students living in Uganda.
Today, we are hosting the Somali ambassador to Uganda, Her Excellency and Ambassador Fadoso Kanyari. We've met with her and with the Somali students here at the International University of East Africa, and we have had a very, very good conversation about the role of education and how the International University of East Africa is training the next generation of Somali technocrats, engineers, lawyers, businessmen and women, and how what we are providing is evidence of excellent education and practical skills that we are imparting. So we are here with the ambassador today and with students and administrative staff of the International University of East Africa to see how we can continue to work together to improve the quality of education we provide and to continue to be positive changers of the lives of the students we have here from Somalia and from across the globe. So that is what we are doing here today at the International University of East Africa.
The whole purpose of visiting the university was, because I'm only here 2 months, and we serve a lot of students, Somali students, that live here in Kampala. This was my first university to visit today. There are going to be many other universities after this. The purpose of the visit is to come and see the Somali students, and for them to tell me how they're treated here at the university. This would be for me, because they told me they're treated very well here, to continue their education, because whatever they get from here, they're taking back to Somalia. So to continue their education and to communicate with the staff members on the board of this university.
The fight aimed at eliminating female genital mutilation and other forms of gender-based violence in Uganda requires concerted efforts from neighboring countries and most importantly the East African community as a whole. The assertion comes into play after it has been established that despite the existence of a legal framework criminalizing FGM in Uganda, the practice reportedly continues on a low scale, particularly at the country's border with Kenya. A visit to the Karamoja and Sebei region reveals that those seeking to be mutilated freely cross into neighboring countries in Kenya undergo the rite and return unnoticed.
Female genital mutilation comprises all procedures involving partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other injuries to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. Though referred to as uncouth and barbaric by opponents, the practice has historically had a significant footprint in 31 of the 54 African countries. bringing the discussion to Uganda. Until recently, FGM was widely practiced in 6 districts within Karamoja and Sebei sub-regions.
They were saying a woman to reduce appetite is when they utilize. That's they reduce what? Appetite. Because a long time ago, men were going for hunting for a long time, or for a walk for a long time, and when they come back, you find a woman is at home. She doesn't think of a man until when the husband comes back, and then he'll do what? She'll do it. She'll not be happy. Nowadays, women who are married are the ones who are mutilated because of they have a system where when you want to circumcise your son, and you are a woman who has not got mutilated, you can't circumcise your son. You have to be circumcised first.
Between 1981 and 1986, Sister Paulina Chepkumun, now 50 years old, experienced first-hand pressure to undergo FGM. As a teenager with aspirations, she was studying far from home to escape the ordeal after her parents attempted to force her into undergoing the procedure.
I went to school by myself, but my parents, they didn't want me to go to school. So I was now interested. Now the missionary sister saw my interest. So she's the one who supported me. Now during holidays, I remain in the mission most of the time.
Although Paulina successfully avoided mutilation, the NRA guerrilla war disrupted her education, eventually leading her to early marriage.
So when I finished my P7 in 84, that is the time they took me to secondary school. They paid for me everything. But the parents, they wanted dowry. They wanted to give me out. So they were timing me anyway. So 86, when 7 entered the throw, I was in senior 2. So when I went to the village, that's the time they gave me to a man, and I was married off by a woman. They paid 50 cows.
However, escaping mutilation came at a cost. Her co-wives frequently bullied her, calling her demeaning names. The emotional torment forced her out of her 6-member marriage network.
So now when I also responded, why do you abuse me like this? So instead I was expecting my husband to support me, but the husband could not support me. So they ended up even fighting. It's been a day we fought. Because she came and slapped me when I was there sitting, breastfeeding the girl. She slapped me because now she was minimizing me, that you are a coward, useless, you don't deserve to be in this home.
This turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Paulina went back to school and later became a midwife and an anti-FGM advocate.
They said they want nursing aides who can work as nursing aides. I started working with some NGO called NSF. So NSF now told me, no, madam, we see you are very active. You have to go back to school. So I went by using my own salary, senior 3, senior 4. I finished. Then I finished, I went on to the course. I was sponsored by State House, senior midwifery in Sandu, Kampala. After now my course, I now started working.
Today, she educates young girls, particularly new mothers, about the dangers of FGM. Medically, FGM is known to cause severe bleeding, complications in urination, infections, and childbirth difficulties, which can contribute to newborn deaths.
You know, when they cut those majoras, the minor and the major majoras, so they put those scars together, that side, and so they become rigid. So when the woman is pushing the baby, they tear down.
While statistics indicate that the overall prevalence of FGM in Uganda is low compared to other African nations, this has been so because the country has made considerable progress in combating the practice. In 2015, the Ugandan government, through Parliament, passed the Anti-FGM Act. This legal framework has significantly influenced some communities to abandon the practice. The advocacy efforts of civil society organizations have played a crucial role in reducing FGM cases, bringing Uganda closer to its total eradication.
Who in this world can accept when they take your fertile part of the land and then they give you a land which has no fertility? What will you go and do there?
Despite these successes, isolated cases persist, largely due to Uganda's porous borders with Kenya. For instance, in Amdat district, while no crossings were witnessed during our visit, specific points serve as escape routes for those seeking FGM. Area local leader in Benyini sub-county, Kweni district, Kamara John says the perpetrators fear being caught, so they conduct the procedure in the bush.
Up on the hills. Then the other ones who beginning to go, they come down. So they meet just where there is no leadership, just in the bush.
However, no cases were officially registered last year.
You need the clitoris as an evidence. Now, yeah, that's the first thing they hide. And from there, the person whom they have cut rarely speaks. So we need just ground surveillance.
Encounters with former FGM practitioners revealed that some communities still cherish the practice. One former surgeon, whose identity remains withheld, admits that her desire to continue cutting is only suppressed by the existing legal framework.
I really feel like doing the same thing again so that I can continue receiving my gifts. Actually, if I even receive now some few girls, I can really do it because I have now lost the respect that I used to have before in the community, even the love that I used to have with the community members.
She openly accuses anti-FGM activists of interfering with her income-generating activity. At Chepkwasta Health Center 3 in Ibuko district, reports indicate that some traditional birth attendants still perform FGM under the guise of assisting expectant mothers during delivery.
They assume that the mother is facing the pain of childbirth, but in other words, some tend to mutilate as the mother is what? In that pain.
Fidel, a reformed surgeon, confirms these assertions, emphasizing that in many cases, it's the mothers themselves who beg to be mutilated. She suggests that alternative livelihood programs would provide a sustainable solution.
We have kept on having meetings, though they have kept on insisting that this was our big source of income.
To effectively stamp out FGM, experts argue that Uganda alone cannot win the battle. Patricia Nangiro, a sexual reproductive health and gender-based violence program analyst at the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, advocates for a regional legal framework through the East African community to combat the practice effectively.
We have ensured that we have community surveillance teams on the ground who are at least ensuring that they are monitoring the trend, how it's happening, and they are able to at least notify or report. But also the challenge is that we also have FGM happening across the borders currently. People moving from Uganda to the Kenya side, especially in the West Pokot area, since it's the one bordering the FGM communities in Uganda. So you find addressing cross-border FGM is quite a challenge. You might get culprits moving to the other side, like perpetrators, the cutters, the cutting being done the other side, and how do you bring those people to book on the Uganda side? So also to address such kind of a challenge, as a country right now, there is consultation going on with the East African Legislative Assembly to make sure that a law is put in place that will be addressing cross-border FGM across different countries, not only between Kenya and Uganda, but also it will include countries like Tanzania, Djibouti, Somalia, and all those.
Female genital mutilation is just one part of the broader problem of gender-based violence in Karamoja and Sebei sub-regions.
In fact, this thing...
The story of Chemtai Rose Sudi, A retired teacher and a mother of 8 exemplifies a woman who has endured social injustices for 40 years due to cultural beliefs.
Can you imagine a man whom have produced 8 children from 84 up to now? The firstborn, I produced him in 1985. And this time now when I've become old, I'm growing even gray hair, is when the man is saying, you were just a friend, you just quit my place.
I asked her the question, did you contribute towards the construction? And she said yes, because this man was the one keeping my ATM. But there is no evidence written that shows that she contributed. You know, that evidence is in form of either receipts or, and that is what you must learn.
Fortunately, support from UNFPA has significantly improved the lives of survivors like Chemtai, demonstrating the critical role international organizations play in addressing gender-based violence.
Literally, she does not have any evidence towards her. But what was more in priority was protecting her life and being here, because she didn't mention, he went to lawyers, and lawyers wrote a letter, we are giving you 7 days to live here. You imagine, he went to a law firm. I had no option but to file a case immediately to seek for protection. And I'm happy to report that I secured that order. And the survivor is happily at her home. She cannot be chased. And very interesting, because this man is living outside with a concubine, he's supposed to give her notice if he wants to visit home.
Dorcas Kimono, UBC News.
Now, coming from that, St. Chizito Hospital Matani in Napaka District, Karamoja Sub-Region is grappling with inadequate funding, severely affecting staffing and infrastructure. The hospital requires over 5 billion Ugandan shillings annually to operate effectively. Take a look.
St. Kizito Hospital Matani is a private non-profit facility serving patients from Karamoja, Teso, parts of Sebei, Acholi, and even neighboring Kenya. It also handles referrals from Moroto Regional Referral Hospital, particularly for ultrasound and X-ray services.
We have many referrals in, but also our patients themselves prefer to come to us.
Due to the extreme poverty of its patients, the hospital provides food for them, spending over 100 million shillings on feeding alone, adding to its already heavy financial burden.
So you find the hospital feeds more than 100 patients every day. And not just the patients, but sometimes also their caretakers or their family. So someone comes in with 2 children and...
Tadeus Dedit Katerega, the medical superintendent, highlights the hospital's major challenges, including limited bed space and a shortage of medical personnel. He stresses the dire need for specialists in pediatrics and internal medicine, which further strains the hospital's ability to deliver quality health care.
The last year plus currently, the hospital has always been above capacity. We have a 250 bed capacity, but the least we've had over the last half of the year up to now has been 280 patients admitted on the different wards. That is, and for now we have specialists in obstetrics and gynecology and surgery, plus the interns also rotating those 2 fields. And after the 6 months they have to go because we don't have specialists in internal medicine and pediatrics.
Despite these constraints, Dr. Katarega explains how the hospital continues to function under difficult circumstances.
Our medical officers and their ability to learn as much as they can and also work as much as they can. And then the different consultations from the different areas.
However, without adequate funding, its ability to provide essential health care services remains at serious risk.
Areas are completely free. Children, all the things they do, even the treatment, by the time they go out, they're almost paying nothing. Any child below the age of 12 is almost paying nothing by the time they go out. So those are almost given for free. They're given free services. The surgery, which would have cost about, going for the simplest, which may be about 300,000 shillings, they pay maybe 50,000. And that's all, because we know they can't afford.
Guilty urgently requires at least 5 billion shillings annually to sustain operations and improve services.
Really asking, what we are pushing for is that with the different partners that we have, Ministry of Health, Government of Uganda and the different ones, the district plus all those others.
Maureen Eagle compiled the story.
Uganda's Premier Rebne Nabanja has uploaded Lugole, a multi-purpose cooperative society for transforming lives of Mayuge people. The Premier is officiating it at its 8th anniversary in Lugolole, Mayuge district at a function attended by thousands of people.
Nja kuleta kasolo honorable kasolo ajja kujja wano abongeremu ssente eza gavumenti ate namufuna ssente nammwe abantu bamwe mubakkirize bayingire ate nabo muzibawole bwe munaba temuzibawoza ate nze mummanyi nze neekyanga mangu aba multipurpose tulesera n'olwaleero nga bakulirwa mukama waabwe gwebeta Waiso Farouk oyo yaviire mu opposition yakyuka yafuuka wa NRM bwafuusa wa NRM saawa dino tayenda kuwulira ku kigambo kindi era okuva lwe yamaze okuyida mu NRM baba ndikoba nti ebirungi bijja kuyuyikanga buyuyike bwiti
otuuse ku bwegeese era nebaza President Museveni okuyigiriza cooperative datandika okutambula fena twatandika okuyamba ku abantu abangi bangi ne babenefitiza mbwegeesi bwaife era nsaba nti ebanga galiwo chance esobola okutugemako oba okutuwa omukono.
So we believe that if we come together through this cooperative, just like other cooperatives in other regions, we can build up Busoga again and we revamp, we revitalize the agricultural sector to its standard so that we generate a lot of income, and that is our focus majorly, to help those ones who are down to earth and of course producing a lot of food that we feed in towns and so on, we enjoy.
Kisoro District Woman Member of Parliament Grace Afikeza Ngabirano awarded 135 primary 7 pupils from government schools with mattresses in recognition of their outstanding performance in 2024 Uganda primary leaving examinations. The event held at Mubano Hotel in Kisoro celebrated the academic achievements of these students. Akifeza expressed her gratitude to the parents, teachers and the wider community for their combined efforts in ensuring the children's success.
Kisoro District Woman Member of Parliament Grace Achifeza Ngabirano awarded mattresses to 135 primary 7 pupils from government schools in recognition of their outstanding performance in the 2024 Uganda primary leaving examination. The ceremony, held at Mubano Hotel in Kisoro, celebrated the academic achievements of the students. She expressed gratitude to parents, teachers and the community for their collective efforts in supporting the students.
Ariko bigenda biraza buhoro buhoro na leadership iriho ya President wacu Museveni adukorera programs za encouraginze abagore kugira ngo nabo bige bahabwe imigisha.
Achifeza emphasized the importance of equal education for both boys and girls, highlighting that educated girls will contribute to society in meaningful ways. She proudly noted that Kisoro ranked second in the country for academic performance, despite its mountainous terrain and limited resources.
Nitwe bande duhinga imirimo yose tukayirangiza dufite n'imirimo mike nangwa dufite bike nta kuko ugiye mu zindi district hari districts zuraje mu kumva ukavuga mana bafite ama eka n'ama eka gamataka bafite amaka menshi bafite ibiki ariko ukareba ka district kacu gatoya k'imisozi myinshi itoroheje ukabona ngo kandi twe turi kuba bandere abakabiri muri Uganda. Iyo mico ni cyubahiro c'amani mwakoze abigisha kimenyesha ngo muri gukoresha amani kandi mukomerezaho mwongerezeho no kongerezaho tubone benshi kandi bari gukora mu za first grades.
Achifeza also reaffirmed her commitment to supporting education in the district, having previously provided education sets to students.
So turebe ngo abana bose barize, turebe ngo abakobwa n'abahungu bose bari kwiga, abahungu be ku dropping out ngo to be taking it for granted. So abahungu watch out, ntabwo dushaka kandi ngo habeho situation y'abahungu ngo bari gusigara inyuma. Umukuru amaze kuvuga ati
District leaders, including the Deputy RDC Robert Tukamuhaebwa and Chisoro Mayor Richard Indiana, praised Achifeza's efforts and the community's role in fostering education.
Aba niyo point ya mani umuzire atatire mwana ishomero then cyakubira ikigendaje ebo tukugushima kubwo kuduhera abana umuhimbo iramwe go rufumbira mu amahina nazo kumusana ubwo no umuhimbo kugira ngo buri mwana wese aje araharanira kugira ngo nawe bamumenye muri iki gikorwa cy'abana bakoze neza mu district yacu ya Kisoro.
The District Water Act representative for Uganda, District 9213, Simeo Sebukulu, has asked the youth to refrain from engaging in unproductive or harmful activities that could jeopardize their future. He emphasized that making the right choices today is key to creating a brighter future. Similarly, the Rotary Club of Kasangati recently welcomed 22 new members into their ranks. Take a look.
The president of the Kasangati Rotaract Club has officially inducted 22 new members and encouraged more youth to join the organization, underscoring the club's significant role in delivering impactful community services across Uganda. Komekoyan shared his concern over the growing trend of young people getting involved in legal activities which not only threaten their own well-being but also the stability of the country.
As the Rotaract Club of Kasangati, we've managed to do quite a number of activities within the community that contribute to the community growth and development. My advice to the young people out there is that please be engaged in something, have something to do, never accept to be a young person who has nothing to do. Never accept to be a young person who is idle.
He further urged youth nationwide to actively engage in Rotaract clubs, stressing that such involvement promotes personal growth and enhances their future prospects.
In Rotaract, we implore, we inspire, and we encourage all young people to join and be able to contribute something to their community. Rotaract is very important as it contributes to who you are, it contributes to your professionalism, it contributes to your CV, and it could be a reason as to why you get your next job opportunity. Rotary is work all about voluntarism, the passion to serve, the dedication to be able to give back to the community.
During the induction ceremony, Simeo Sebukulu expressed confidence that the new members' participation would further strengthen the community service efforts across the country.
It's valuable to join Rotaract because Rotaract has 5 goals, but the most critical and first goal is to develop your professional and leadership skills. Now, when you join Rotaract, you get to first grow your leadership. You do not have to wait to go to Parliament for you to grow your leadership skills. Rotaract gives you that opportunity. But also, we welcome people of diverse professions and backgrounds. And so, when you join, we equally thrive to develop your profession.
It has been a great milestone for our club as well and for the district at large, because membership is one of the key things in any Rotaract club.
Charity Marion Imnat and Stephen Kayumba for UBC.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo.
Abantu be Buloba mwenna olwako olwaleero tuli wamwe wano ku St Paul Kindergarten nga tukuze kukola ki tuze kuwa muzadde waffe eyawangudde school fees za mwaka mulamba. Kyeyakoze jogajoga yasasuza school fees we ng'akozesa school pay bw'atyo n'awangula.
Nasooka kwogera amannya ga mwana mulala ngenda okuwulira ng'asiriikiridde nenooza tewakirizeemu si kituufu ne mugamba nyinawo abaana babiri kyava mbuza omulala y'ani ne mubuulira amannya ge n'angamba oyo oli muwanguzi waffe ne MTN Momo wawangudde school fees gwe muwanguzi wa wiiki eno.
Dial *165 *80 hash. Select option 2 for school pay. Select option 1 to pay school fees. Enter the student number and amount and approve the transaction. You will now enter the draw to win school fees for your child for a whole year.
Step into a world of excellence, comfort and pride with Royal Foam Furniture, crafted to perfection right here in Uganda. We bring you state-of-the-art living room furniture and bedding products at affordable prices. Our wide variety of mattresses include orthopedic, pillow top, spring mattresses suitable for institutions like hotels and many others for home comfort. With every piece telling a story of royal excellence, our products are built with the highest quality materials made to last. Experience royalty with Royal Foam Furniture, proudly made in Uganda, so buy Uganda and build Uganda. Visit our showrooms at Ginger Road, Chambogo Junction, Bukota Chisasi Road, and on Victoria Mall, Entebbe, on the first floor. Government of Uganda presents Post Buses in Uganda, operated by Posta Uganda. We specialize in professional transport, courier and vehicle hire services across Uganda. Our routes include Kampala Masaka Mbarara Kabale Chisoro, Kampala Mukono Jinja Mbale via Tirinyi Road Soroti Lira, and Kampala Luero Kamudini Gulu Kitgum. Our main offices are located at the Post Office Head Office on Kampala Road, with booking services available at counters 23 and 24 at the General Post Office. You can also book at designated district post offices along our routes. For inquiries or bookings, please contact us on 0751 684 184. Posta Uganda. We deliver trust.
Still watching KBC Weekly News Roundup. From the sports desk, Uganda's national kabaddi women's team has continued training in readiness for the World to be hosted in India's state of Bihar at Rajir next month. It's almost a week now since Uganda's kabaddi women's national team entered camp at Ridgeway School in Matuga.
It's almost a week now since Uganda's kabaddi women's national team entered camp at Ridgeway School in Matuga.
I'm here to inform the world that we are going for World Cup in March, and we are well prepared by our coaches. We are ready to win, and we are sure that we are going to be amongst the finalists.
Initial focus under head coach Ephraim Makuya is on strength and conditioning, and thereafter the team will embark on tactics. With the new sports law assented to by the president, the team looks to decent performances that will elevate it to the reward scheme that will aid economic empowerment.
Currently, we are in a residential training camp in Matuga, and we are really hoping to see the best from these girls, and we wish to perform to our best, at least to finish among the finalists, so that these girls can achieve that reward scheme from the government, like how the athletics, football, basketball and other sports, how the national team players are given these reward schemes.
But amidst hope for decent performances, Uganda Kabaddi Federation is struggling to raise more than 120 million to enable a smooth camp of motivated players.
We are looking for 120 million to motivate the camp, to help the team of 20 girls and 5 officials to travel to India for this upcoming World Cup next month. And purpose of 120 million is we need to have a good accommodation for these girls in the camp, to have them a good residential training camp, also to purchase the air tickets for these girls, to purchase the good and updated kits for these girls, to motivate them, to give them allowances and everything.
Uganda Women Kabaddi team goes into this World Cup ranked 6th in the world and credibly as the African champions. The team in camp is of more than 20 players including Grace Hojiel, Olivia Nalubega, Annette Kemirembe, Rita Kembavazi, Hajara Nabale and Winfred Akelo. This second edition of the World Cup shall have 18 teams from around the world, with 3 of these including debutants Uganda, Kenya and Zanzibar from Africa. The first edition of the World Cup was played in 2012 by 10 countries that were bettered by India.
That's all we had for you. Thank you so much for being a part of the UBC Weekly Now News Roundup today with me, Sharon Kyomugisha. Have a lovely afternoon.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Seems to me now that the dreams we had before are all dead, nothing more.
The holiday table is set. Steam rises from freshly prepared dishes. Family photos line the walls, but one chair remains empty. An empty chair that wasn't supposed to be empty today. All because someone thought arriving 5 minutes earlier was worth speeding through that last corner. No destination. This festive season, thousands